Attack on Titan is one of, if not the best show I have ever watched.
Make the whole split on my dick. Hit that bitch, sickety split. Yeah, sweet, John, be that hand. Chop him on, get your ass knocked off. Coming with the axe like a Choctaw. Blow big smoke like a rock star. Sick it up, I can die. I can't keep my Glock up. Every day, bitch, I'm boss. Insane, I done went nuts. Drains back out in a tub, bitch. Fuck who? Fuck you.
But while this is cool and all, we've seen from many different shows and movies that flashy production showing how polished animation can be definitely makes for a great time, but it's not always enough to cover up for shitty storytelling, weak character development, and overall an underwhelming experience being covered by its stunning fight scenes. But Attack on Titan is completely different. It's a perfect mixture of action and dialogue, being able to showcase a unique story that kept me invested the entire time. And the overall attention to detail put in by a group of people who truly care about what they're doing makes this piece of art truly shine. So much so that I want to make a video on it. So grab your popcorn, sit down, relax, and if you haven't realized already, here's why Attack on Titan was a perfect masterpiece. Quick disclaimer, there will be spoilers if you haven't watched the entire anime already, but manga spoilers for the second part of Season 2 will not be included. If you've watched the anime already, I highly suggest you do read it. It is somewhat of a controversial topic at the moment as the fan base seems to be split on whether or not it was good or bad. But that's a topic for a completely different video. But regardless, if you wish to talk about your thoughts in the comments below regarding anything manga related, at least have some sort of warning for my fellow anime only viewers. Thank you. Here are some of the main points I hope to go over during this video, starting with the most important aspect of any show or movie, the story. When looking at any show or movie, it is very important that the story is not only interesting in its core, but is revealed to the audience in an interesting way. What I mean by that is that it's very obvious when a creator of a show or movie has not thought out the true details and pacing of the story they're trying to tell. And on the other hand, it's even more obvious when the story is so thought out that there's literally no room for any loose ends or confusion within the plot. Hajime Isayama, the creator of AOT, has been shown to not only fully vision the future of his story progression prior to reaching it, but is also fresh to the scene and full of passion and care in his craft. When developing a story, there are so many different routes you can take on how you want to present the story and how you want to sequence the events to later align with one another. Most mediocre writers will go about it by literally unfolding their story, slowly but surely showing more and more of the main picture until it's all been shown. While not harmful in theory, this is a very boring and repetitive method that only a couple folds in we can already start to guesstimate what is coming next until we've figured it out exactly.
Let's go.
Man gets beat up, man gets stronger, man wins. Man goes against enemy, man gives heartful, powerful speech, enemy is now a converted Muslim who prays 5 times a day. And the sad thing is that these two animes I'm taking jabs at are two of the best, the OGs, yet they both, as well as many others, fall susceptible to predictable moments in their storylines. However, when shifting to Attack on Titan, it goes something along the lines of boy's mom gets eaten alive in the first episode, boy looks to get revenge, trains for 5 years, and then gets his leg chopped off, thrown into a building, and swallowed whole in the first 5 seconds he encounters a Titan, and causes his best friend to have a psychological breakdown. Now this, while completely fucked up, is fresh to the table and creates a problem that can be creatively built upon. Rather than unfolding the story, Isayama chooses to treat his story like a puzzle and randomly fills a couple pieces in random locations throughout the plot, and then once you think you know what's going to happen, once you think you know the picture, you realize there's actually multiple pictures and it keeps you on your feet on what's going to happen next. I don't spend a lot of time watching TV or movies, but this change in pacing, story development, and overall presentation was so amazing to witness for the first time, and was honestly 10 times better a second and even third watch, as you're able to carefully see the seeds that Isayama is planting in earlier episodes to foreshadow key and even minor events coming up in this fully planned out masterpiece. And this idea is even more apparent when reading the final chapters of the manga, as you see the seeds planted within the first season have bloomed to flowers in the end of the story, quite literally. The way that he was able to weave small details that would make sense 3 seasons later shows that there was a lot of thought put into how everything would connect, leaving with little to no room for error. A good example that a lot of you might know would be seeing Bertold almost bite his hand when falling towards what seemed to be his death in Season 2, a small detail that foreshadowed an extremely detrimental event within the story that had yet to even be revealed. The story also does a great job of not only navigating between different characters' perspectives, but also does an even better job supplying the reasoning behind characters' choices. Each character within the entire show is faced with such impactful events throughout their story that cause them to act the way they do. And when new conflicts and events are brought up during the show, they start to influence change within these characters and their future actions and ideologies, something I wish more animes did to their characters. Overall, the story is just a very well written, balanced, multi-layer progression and never really left me wanting any more. And while the ending of the manga seems to be somewhat controversial at the moment, I'm really excited to see how they animate it so that maybe the pacing and the way that Isayama chooses to have this story presented in an animated form will leave us more satisfied than just reading it off the manga. The one thing that animated media has going for them compared to real-life films is the ability to incorporate unrealistic aspects without completely drawing attention towards the obscurity of these details within the environment. That was kind of a mouthful, so let me kind of explain this in a way that makes more sense. Obviously, Ratatouille is not real. A talking, fully functioning rat chef is not possible. But when given the context, the small details, the character development, and the overall eye-pleasing experience, your mind isn't stuck on how unrealistic the idea of a talking rat is. You are drowning in an amazing story, likable characters, and it's all placed within an environment that complements the content given throughout their attention to detail. And when executed correctly, animated media can give more to offer in terms of endless possibilities while holding on to a somewhat realistic feel. This is where I think Attack on Titan truly excels. Attack on Titan on paper is about humans flying in the air by grappling hooks, fighting giant Titan human lookalikes with no private parts. I don't know about you guys, but that doesn't sound realistic whatsoever to me. However, thanks to the way that the world of Attack on Titan is shown to the audience, the way that characters are all different in their own ways of thinking, allowing for each person who watches to relate to a different character, and overall the amount of detail put into a show to make the actions feel as realistic as possible within a very apparently unrealistic setting, is where the attention to detail is able to hold on to the audience's interest without losing the intensity of the situation. And as Marco would say, it's not half bad. When a character dies in a cartoon, for example, this dumbfuck coyote falling 1,000 feet off a cliff, I feel absolutely nothing as I know that the coyote is fake and will return in the next episode, let alone the next frame. Now, Attack on Titan, when someone dies, they are fucking dead. They are brutally killed even from the very first episode and do not come back. They don't stand a chance and are just killed left and right in an environment that makes it truly impactful each time someone is killed. When the scene is set as just humans trying to survive and win their own freedoms, each time a character dies without getting to see the results in which they were fighting for, it makes the audience truly feel remorse and keep the action sequences that much more important to the characters you grow to love. That, on top of the psychological effects each death leaves on the characters still alive, is enough to feel the emotions each character is feeling just from facial expressions and altered choices in their way of life. This makes later scenes such as Eren literally nosediving into a crowd of people that much more impactful, and while such an insane scene thanks to the way the story moved, this scene would not hold any sense of exhilaration if it weren't for the amazing attention to detail the show provided. Outside of the main cast, the world seems just as oblivious as real-life civilians. They have their own markets, their own problems, and they're merely there to make the environment feel genuine. There's not many ways I can go about explaining this feeling other than to just advise you to watch it. But on my second and third watch, I gathered a couple of small details that truly shine through to me that made the show feel not only well thought out, but extremely realistic. Levi is shorter because he was malnourished as a kid and lacks sleep. You can clearly see the handprint that the Colossal Titan left after they returned to Shiganshina. John is seen kissing the same hand that he held Marco's ashes with. Eren gets flashbacks of his mom very often, as a traumatized child should, and yet there are animes where their friends and families literally explode right in front of them, but 5 episodes later they are completely fine, and have 2 left hands. There are little dust particles in the sky that are seen through the sun falling through cracks of the ceiling. Jean has saliva falling off of his fingers when whistling. There's a bloody mist that soldiers leave when rocks hit them when Zeke threw them at them. Mikasa shows a sign of separation anxiety that is creatively built upon throughout the story. Eren's identity being foreshadowed as his Eldian armband was on the wrong arm. And even the symbolism between birds that are free to fly compared to the flowers that are free to live but unable to escape from their planted setting, completely drilling the idea of how Eren wishes to break from a predetermined fate. This and so many more that I didn't even get the chance to even notice is what makes these little details truly shine. All these details, while playing only a small part in the overall momentum of the story, allow the setting to feel more realistic, and it makes the actions made by characters that much more impactful because you genuinely feel like their lives are on the line. Now, with an amazing story, small details that make the entirety of it feel so realistic and genuine, all that's left is a cast of amazing characters. And boy, that's exactly what we got on our hands. Usually I'll watch a show or an anime and either completely despise a character, like genuinely hate them, like literally wish they were given the most gruesome death the animators were possibly able to achieve. But the entire cast of Attack on Titan are full of personality, motives, and ambition to fight for their beliefs, each having very different ways of thinking that makes them feel so much more authentic when interacting with one another, especially in dialogue scenes where their views are conflicted and put to the test. Each character was specifically built upon based off specific moments that they have encountered throughout the story. Each character is given circumstances where they're left to choose between logic and emotion on how to survive the situation. And overall, I genuinely don't think that there is a single bad character in the entire series. Except for Flock. Fuck you, Flock, you fucking Cinnabon head looking at. Another benefit to the characters is that this series has one of the best main characters I have ever seen in a show of this complexity. In almost all shows and animes, and even movies I watch, I always seem to get attached to the side characters more than the main protagonist, and in more cases than not, even the main villain. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really tired of the wholesome, generic, I want to do the right thing type of character that is copied and pasted upon show after show. And while Attack on Titan surely gave off this impression, anyone who's watched Season 4 and especially read through the manga knows that not to be the case. Eren works as a character because he was written to change his perspective based on factors presented to him throughout the story. Unlike characters who continuously push narratives regardless of what is presented to them time and time again, Eren shows a sense of realism that allows you to relate and follow him through his journey, which is why many people see his killings as justified. Time and time again, he changes how he chooses to reach his goal of freedom, such a broad term that he chooses to apply to fewer and fewer as the circumstances get harder and harder, going from saving all humans from the death of Titans to saving the citizens of Paradis to end the cycle of hatred that got them there in the first place. But just like I said before, I always end up liking side characters more, and while that's not totally the case because, like I said, Eren is probably my favorite character in the series, coming from a guy who favors antagonist type of characters such as Sasuke or Vegeta for example, the side characters in this anime are all developed just as if they were the main character as well. Levi, Reiner, Zeke, and many more main characters are, in my eyes, much more interesting to watch unfold throughout the story, and even side characters that died in the first season were set to be interesting for their share of screen time. Overall, characters make not for only cool action figures, but a nice dynamic setting where views are opposed and action is needed to occur. So for that, this cast is completely perfect. The last part that I want to talk about is the artistic style of Attack on Titan, and it's honestly what got me to watch the first 2 seasons in one sitting. Art can mean many things, but in the case of Attack on Titan, I am referring to the animation, the color grading, and the music selection. Let me start off by saying, Jesus Christ, this animation is clean. Each frame looks like it was drawn to be a picture hung in a museum of art, and let's not even get started on the times where the animators gave us a little more than we could chew. One small thing I really appreciate about the animation was, at least in the first couple of seasons, to have some clips with just a still frame moving across the screen with the respective audio. I really appreciated how they didn't choose to get some poorly animated filler content that would obviously decrease the overall quality of the entire episode. And when the quality is so high, they chose to keep it there, allowing for the animators to spend more time where it truly mattered. And while if you talk to anyone who's watched the show, you will only hear positive things, the only negative thing I have ever heard about Attack on Titan's animation was due to the heavily CGI focused Titan sequences going on into Season 4. In case you didn't know, between Season 3 and 4, the studio that Attack on Titan was animated from changed from a studio called WIT to Mappa Studios. And while the excessive use of CGI in the first half of Season 4 is pretty eye-gouging at some instances when used for the Titans, I must say that the new animation does a great job at not only getting closer to the roots of the original manga, but it also sets a really nice scene for the different tones set by the final season. As we transition from a wholehearted story of a young boy just trying to avenge his mom by killing brain-dead titans that seem to be the devils of the earth, we later learn that outside the walls, he himself and those comrades he loved are viewed as the same devils, setting the main antagonist from man-eating titans to a debatable argument between two sides of humanity. As this turn of events happens and truly settles after this beautiful ocean scene we left off in Season 3, I believe that this scene was genius as it was so bright and colorful and left those such as Armin and Mikasa smiling and playing, thinking that this venture out of the walls was their first taste of freedom and safety, when in reality Eren shows us that this was the final confirmation that their futures were in danger. And with this beautiful ending to Season 3, moving into Season 4, the colors become more dark and washed out, the tone is more depressing, the shine and light in characters' eyes and scenery in the first 3 seasons that resembled their hopes for a safer future are completely gone, and overall the season sends out a much more serious vibe that matched with the story being told. If this isn't genius, I really don't know what is. I must say I personally preferred the art style of the first couple seasons. The thicker lines and the clearer and more colorful animation was just like cocaine for my eyeballs. But at the same time, I am a sucker for the facial expressions and overall emotion that Mappa was able to create within these characters. And given that they don't have a lot of time to do so, it is truly an incredible thing to see. Also, Season 4 left off with a hand-drawn scene of Eren's Attack Titan, and we can all cross our fingers that if Mappa continues Season 4, they will continue the hand-drawn Titans, and I think I can speak for everyone when I say that I don't really care how long I have to wait, I just really don't want to see any more CGI Titans. In terms of animation, this show is one of the best animated shows in my eyes, as unlike its competitors, it doesn't need to lose quality after the high action sequences are done, which makes that much more enjoyable. Sure, this is a relatively new anime, and I would totally advise you to take that into consideration, the first season being animated sometime in 2013 compared to top dogs like Naruto, One Piece, and Dragon Ball, all being animated around the late 1900s to early 2000s. But at the same time, newer animated shows like Dragon Ball Super showed the consequence of shitty animation and attempts to keep action sequences high and reduce costs by adding repetitive, low-quality meshes of animation that overall made me lose respect for the Dragon Ball Super series as a whole. But Attack on Titan kept its quality high, being able to truly use a new unique movement style such as ODM gear to their advantage, as the chase and battle scenes in the show are just perfect 10 out of 10s. For God's sake, the animators worked over 3 months to complete the Levi scene where he first reconnects with Kenny, and that scene, well, to put it simply, made the entire fan base grow giant colossal sized boners for Levi. But overall, the art, animation, and production is so top quality, and you know you're doing something right when your action scenes are plastered on basically every single AMV on YouTube. And lastly, to wrap things up and create an emotional ending to this video, would have to be the music. Many casual entertainment consumers never really get to notice or appreciate how important music can be to video games, movies, and TV shows. The addition of tear-jerking piano during a sad scene, or the suspenseful, loud, and bassy instruments that make the fight scenes truly make like life or death, can make or break the experience as a whole. All the music in Attack on Titan seems to really hit the spot, some specifically being the hope lost in Eren's viewing of his mother's death in the very first episode, the climactic sense of danger right when Reiner and Bertolt transform, the empowering, soul-touching violin playing during Eren's first time using the Founding Titan's powers, and who could forget the specific choice of silence as Levi found his comrades dead before his eyes. The music is perfectly placed and held at the right times, in right ways, and with music that is truly a joy to listen to. And while touch, smell, and feelings can't be shared through TV, I can guarantee you that Mikasa's hair smells amazing.
Yo, yo, yo! Ah!
I mean, well, anyways, with that being said, I must end this video off by saying that I truly enjoyed each episode of Attack on Titan and highly encourage anyone who hasn't watched it yet to do so. And even if you have, please go give it another go because it's 100 times better the second and even third time watching. I made this video just because I liked it so much, and if you've taken a look at my channel, you know I usually do the opposite, making videos on things I thought were absolute garbage. If you enjoyed, make sure to check out my channel and even subscribe, but thank you for watching regardless. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you go watch Attack on Titan right now. Well, without further ado, thanks once again for watching, and let's dash to the next video.